We're back, baby. It's the Horns Up Talking Texas podcast. Fisher, DeSablos, DJ, Nikki, Snacks, Kreider, back to the daily shows, Jen. So it's good to see you guys. Unfortunately, we have, again, not somber news to report, but our Texas men's basketball team is on life support, unfortunately. Updated Joe Lenardi's bracketology, 223. So this is before our demolition loss in Allen Fieldhouse to Kansas, where they absolutely bamboozled the shit out of us, for lack of a better term. We got crushed. Dickinson crushed us. On the outside, we got crushed. A. Smith can't hit the red side of a barn. I mean, I don't know. I honestly that's like the biggest blunder to me is I have no idea. This guy cannot shoot to save his life out of nowhere. He starts off the year extremely hot. He's like on the wooden watch list. Now can't hit a shot to save himself.
He's got the yips.
He shot it. He seems like the whole team's got the yips. Right now we're an 8 seed, playing in LA. I don't know, in the West. That's good for us over here. But things are just not going well for our Texas Longhorns, man. And it's very unfortunate to see because I'll let you jump in, Toss, but it's unfortunate because the thing that you brought up the last show we did with Trey Johnson, like he's a guy we want to keep. He's a massive recruit. He's a guy it's early and we know how these mock drafts go, but he's going to be mocked in the top 10 of the 2025 mock draft. And that's not a recruit we want to lose because we missed the tournament.
Yeah. And you're saying we're projected as an 8 seed in the tournament, but we're the 9th seed if you go by conference record in the Big 12 right now. 9 out of 14 teams. So, look, I don't know. I'll have to pull up. I'll have to do some statistics research here on previous March Madness brackets, but it is not often, I can say that with a high percentage certainty, that 9 teams from a conference make the NCAA tournament.
9 teams.
So our conference tournament, what we do there is going to be huge for us. We mentioned last show the remaining games on our schedule. We play Texas Tech tomorrow night. We'll do a breakdown, I guess, after that game, or potentially on Wednesday when we record then. Oklahoma State on Saturday, and then we go to Waco this coming Monday, March 4th, and then we end the season. We've got a nice little break there, which we can also kind of use as our break before our conference tournament. We play our last game at home against Oklahoma on Saturday, March 9th. But again, that's four conference games that we've got left. That's 4 games just in general on the rest of our schedule. Even if we win, if we go 4-0 in that stretch, we're going to be 10-8, which still won't put us, but at the 5th spot in the conference. Baylor and TCU play each other tonight as we're recording. So, one of them will end up as the current 4 seed, whoever wins that game. And obviously Houston, Iowa State, and Kansas are going into the tournament for sure, and will be high-ranked seeds and will be either picks to win it all or dark horse picks to win it all. And that was the grouping that we wanted to be when we first looked at this season. That's the grouping that we thought we could have been after the excellent transfers that we brought into the program, at least their pedigree playing at the other universities that they were at. And it's kind of all fallen short. It's the coaching and the play on the court. None of it's looked great.
Let me ask you guys something. In years prior that we've seen like teams like Kentucky win it, where they were a 7 or 8 seed. What were they?
They went as an 8. They went to the finals as an 8 seed with Randall and the Harrison twins. They didn't win.
And then, and like we've seen like last year, there was a lot of teams, that were high seeded teams that figured out their way to get pretty far and pretty deep. Let's just say we become an 8 seed, right? Or a 9 seed. Were those seasons comparable to kind of seasons that we had? I feel like those seasons, for some reason, I feel like you see a team and you're like, they're a sneaky 7 seed, they're a sneaky 8 seed. But for us, it kind of be one where it's like, are we fooling ourselves, telling ourselves that we're a sneaky team? Okay.
We're lamb chops, bro. We're absolute fall off the.
Well,
you mentioned bone lamb chops.
No, I think about that Kentucky team, right? Josh, you just mentioned one of the players that was on it. Forget the Harrison twins, who were both. Julius Randle's on that team. He was an All NBA player. He was either the number 1 or number 2 guy coming out of high school, going to Kentucky. Like, we don't have that dynamic of a playmaker, and certainly not one with that much size. Both the Harrison twins were 6'5" guards, 6'6" guards. So bringing the ball up the court, right? A. Smith has been a fine player in tournaments past, obviously for ORU, and he started off the season hot, like you mentioned, Josh, but he is a small guard, and there's only certain things he can do physically on the basketball court, and we haven't. And Dessou, same thing, right? He is a big man, but he doesn't have the same versatility as a guy like Dylan Mitchell, as a wing, guys in years past. Like I just mentioned, Randall's not a big man necessarily. He's kind of an in-between of a hybrid wing big man. It's just tough, man. Like I think first and foremost, like, get into the tournament, at least get there. Like, that's what you have to do. And there's no guarantee that we do. I'll bring up, like, you say we're projected as an 8 seed. I think right now, if the season ends, the Texas Longhorns are not in the NCAA tournament. We're an 8 seed, still needing to prove. And I know our strength of schedule is tough, right? And that's part of the reason why it's not like we've had the easiest draw and we're just not taking care of games. It's like we're playing good opponents, especially in conference play. But when you lose to Kansas and the game's over 9 minutes into the game, like, that's tough. That's hard to come back from. It really is. I turned that game off. What was I supposed to watch? The only thing I could watch was our mental toughness. Like, do we not let this be a 40-point loss? Which, okay, good on us. We didn't let it go that far out of hand. But look, I don't know what else to say.
It was completely out of hand. Look, it's just also, so what have you done for me lately? The tournament. Yeah. So so you're saying if we end the season 4-0, and one of those wins is at Waco, I'm going streaking through the quad into the gymnasium. Like, would be unbelievable if we could finish 10-8.
And we'll be 21-10. We'll be 21-10, right? That feels like a team that could be. Yeah, that's a team that's in the NCAA tournament.
If we win 3 of the last 4, which, again, based off what I've seen lately, I don't think is going to happen. Texas Tech you want to talk about a team, Nick, that I could trick myself into thinking they're a good team. Texas Tech at like a 6 or a 7 seed. Yeah, I could trick myself into being like, okay, like I could send them past a Marquette at 2. Thank you very much, Shaka Smart. How you doing? Texas, as an 8 or 9, they're going to walk into UConn. Even if we were to win the 9 seed 8-9 game, we go to UConn. It's like, how do you want to lose? It's like, which guy do you want to beat you this time? Because the guy who beat us last time is not the same guy who beat someone else for UConn this past weekend. It's different than the guy before that. They're like a real team, so versatile. We brought in so many transfers. We took advantage of the transfer portal. It just hasn't worked out for us this season. There's too many guys. There's too much of a lack of continuity. And Dessou has been the bright spot. He's shooting 50+% from 3, which is going under the radar in the NCAA because we're not playing that well. That's pretty remarkable. But it'd be shocking. I think we could still get in. I think it's plausible. I think we don't have to win the Big 12 tournament, which we're not going to. We don't have to win the Big 12 tournament either. The record, by the way, can you guys guess the conference? The year was 2011. Most teams sent to the NCAA tournament.
Is it?
Is it the ACC?
No.
SEC? Big 10? I'm just gonna keep throwing that. Big East. If you look at our schedule too, we're 17-10 right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at our schedule, I counted 8 games on here that are gimme wins. Like, we're talking Cardinal Ward, Delaware State, Rice, Texas State, Houston Christian, Texas A&M Commerce, UNC Greensboro, and then UT Arlington. So if you take those eight wins away, we're a 9-10 team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, our conference record is 6-8, right? Like, we've been not good against mid to, upper crust quality teams in college basketball. And you have to beat tough teams, especially if you want to make a deep tournament run. And that's why they want to put you in the tournament, is because they think you can win games and they think you're going to put an exciting quality product out for March Madness viewers, who we know a lot of them don't watch games throughout the regular season. Josh, I do have a question for you. If we win, let's say we win 2 out of those 2 games and we get to the conference semifinal, maybe the final, and lose, and we get placed as one of those play-in teams, does your mind change about the Texas Longhorns? Because I know you love a sneaky play-in team.
Yes, I love the play-in game. My mind completely changes.
Okay.
If we have the warm-up game as the 11th seed, and I see Dayton, we do actually like guys on the Dayton team, but I see Dayton as a 6th seed, I'm stoked. We have like the thing is the monkey's off your back, and your second game that you have to play isn't that daunting. If you win your first game and your second game is against, I don't know, UNC, who has how many fifth-year seniors? A gazillion. Armando Bacot and RJ Davis were on the team that went to the finals a couple years ago. Like the best players in that team. They're still here. These are like the Perry Ellises of this. Yeah, this is their full Perry Ellis mode, those guys. Okay, so those guys are still there. You kind of mentioned Purdue honestly doesn't scare me, but this could be the Virginia effect where they lose to the 16 seed, come back as the number 1 overall seed the next year, and they win the whole damn thing. Houston, forget about it. Houston would eat our lunch. And
they already have twice.
Houston would eat our lunch, drink our liquor, and enjoy our woman. Like they would take us to church, dude. It would be a bamboozle if we played Houston in the second round. Unless we were that pesky 11 seed, had to do a little dance to play in. And then, I mean, that's like Chris Beard is like at that with Ole Miss. Like he's like the last 4 in, I think, right now. It's a tough year. There's a lot of like mid-major teams that are playing really good basketball. There's a lot of Big East teams that are playing Big East teams that are playing. The Savings Grace is like the strongest conference still is looking like ours. Like Houston, Kansas, Baylor, BYU, even Tech is putting up a fight. Iowa State's a sneaky team that could go to the Final Four. Like we have a really strong conference that plays really, really tough defense. It's not like the SEC where you have teams like Kentucky and Alabama playing no defense.
Yeah. Well, I'll just very, very quickly, one extra thing on our conference too. You've got Houston, who's 24-3. You've got Iowa State, who's 21-6. Kansas is 21-6. And then TCU, Baylor, Tech, BYU, Oklahoma. That's 5 teams. All have an overall record of 19-8. And the worst the conference record is Oklahoma and BYU at 7-7. And then there's Texas at 17-10. So we're 2 games behind that big. If I'm looking at it and I'm the committee, it looks real easy to me where the cutoff is. It's right before you get to Texas, right? It's right before you get that 2 games back drop off. And again, there's 4 games left and a lot can happen in them. But that's why I look at that 8 seed and I say, nah, we're not an 8 seed. We're not in the tournament. It's right there. It's written in the records. So
if I'm Rodney Terry and I see that in the standings on ESPN.com, and then I go to my team's schedule and I see that dumbass loss to UCF, which is a season killer, the loss at West Virginia, what's their record, Toss? You have it up. Are they above 500?
They are the worst team in the Big 12. They're 4-10 in the conference. They are 9-18 overall.
9-8. Yeah, I would stick my head in the toilet if I was Rodney Terry and just hit flush.
Self-swirly.
A Percy swirly.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, dude. Like, it's just, it's frustrating because we on our show gave him the benefit of the doubt. We backed him as a hire. I don't put a lot of stock in group text, but in other group texts I have been in, I have backed him and said, you know what, like, he's got to get his system in place, got to get things going, got to get his sea legs under him. He did earn it. I really felt he earned it last year. Like, look, he took over a team that was in turmoil. He took over a team that was in turmoil, and then he led us to the Elite Eight for the first time since Kevin Durant didn't even go for the first time since TJ Ford. Should maybe have been a little bit of writing on the wall of what was to come when we were up by a bunch against Miami, and we were booking tickets at the club, at the bar. Nick and I are like next to each other, like talking flights.
Yeah, we had our flights booked.
We did. Yeah. And then he queefed Jenkins on the dance floor in the second half, and the Miami Hurricanes go to the line like more times than I can count. Yeah, problem. But I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully
we had our flights booked for the national championship in NOLA.
We should probably stop doing that.
Not NOLA,
by the way.
Where was it?
Houston.
Yes.
Yeah, I will say, thankfully, What some would argue,
I
did not have my flights booked, but thankfully, what some would argue was actually the more interesting and exciting March Madness tournament last year, the women's, as opposed to the men's, is going to be exciting once again. And the Texas women's team is the number 3 team in the country. They only have 2 games left. They're the number 2 team in the conference behind Oklahoma, although they are a higher ranked team in the AP poll. And they have a better. They've won 8 in a row. They're 9-1 on the road. The team is a force to be reckoned with. There's a lot of good teams at the top, obviously. And Caitlin Clark has brought a ton of noise to women's college basketball, and she will to the tournament as well.
Juju Watkins at USC.
Oh, Watkins has been a beast.
Yeah, she's been a beast.
But I mean, look, like, hopefully our Lady Longhorns are there at the end of it, the Final Four and beyond, and they're, getting to display some of their big personalities on the team against people like Watkins, people like Clark, and the rest of the other really, really talented players in women's college basketball. So that is a bright spot. I know we're lamenting about the men's team, but our women's team has been tremendous.
Oh, our women's team's been fantastic. The men's team couldn't hold their jock straps if they had them. Like the men's team stinks compared to the women. They do. They stink compared to the women's team. The women's team's electric.
That's nothing new. That's nothing new though.
I was about to say our women's sports is fantastic. Our women's volleyball team is amazing. Our women's swimming and diving. The women's sports at Texas has not been an issue in our entire tenure. Truthfully, softball is always pretty solid, if not really good. Right. Yeah. I mean, the men's baseball team, ironically, has probably been the most consistent team from a men's standpoint. We're talking those 3 sports that we've had, plus with swimming and diving, of course. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Fisher DeSablos, DJ Nikki Snacks Kreider. Let's get that first win for the Horns in the next game.